Alrighty, so this is it. You have gotten this far in the course and you're ready to do your day one work. So here's what you want to have open. If you open this item, once you've done attendance, then there's a link here, and I'll go ahead and click on it. And this link is actually what you need to do to show your work for this first day. And for most days, this will kind of give you that general what you need to do. And this kind of file, if you've never seen it, is called a markdown file. And I'm going to show you how to create one. I'm going to show you how to create the structure. But as I move through, because every day that we go through the course, okay, every day that we work through it, I will have a detailed instruction on what you need to do for each day and each video within each day, okay? So here, we'll get you started. Okay, so how to structure each day's work? Well, let's just do it. Okay, because I'm always a fan of doing versus just talking about it. So this is the GitHub user account that I showed you before, where I set up my student account. And now I'm in the private repo. So just to be clear, the work we're about to do needs to be in the private repo that you set up. Okay, we'll use the public repo for our first learn together for day one and day two. This is the work. This is the directory you will use. Now, if you're working locally because you went and did that, hopefully you know how to do this already, creating files and folders, but please reach out on Discord if you want me to cover that in more detail. But in this GitHub interface, under this private, what you're going to do is you're going to create a file, create a new file. So in creating the new file, what we're first going to do is say 100 days. Okay, now what this is going to do, as soon as I hit /, it creates a folder. Okay, and then you're going to create day one /, and then in there you're going to create readme.md. Okay, so notice what this does. Immediately GitHub recognizes what you're doing here. And it's like, okay, I know what you're doing. You're creating a README file. You've created two directories, one inside of the other one. So we're, in this sense, 3 directories in, not a big deal. And at this point, we could start typing, but we could also just commit the file. So generally what I want you to do is in the beginning, get used to just committing after each video that you're doing. Okay. Now, as we start into week 2, I'll probably end up making this a little more streamlined, but I just want you to get used to this. Now, in this first one, it gives you kind of some, some content to use, creating the README, and you can say maybe something like, and this is what we call a commit message. So commits are like saves, and you save the file. The difference here is we're actually going to track each line of code that you're doing. So following along with Rio is fine. And now you're going to learn more about branches as we go through, but let's just commit new file. Cool. So you've created the README file. Great. So now in here, what you can do is, now that you've created, you can come over and hit edit this file. Okay. And now here's where you want to learn a little markup. Okay. And by the way, at this point, I would say bring up, and you can say it's markdown. If I've been saying markup, I may have markdown cheat sheet. And there's a great markdown cheat sheet that shows you just quick ways to give headings, do bold, do italics. Most of what we're going to be doing is actually just headings for now. Okay. So what I want you to do in this README file under day one is just put, in this case, 2, okay, and put day one. Very cool. All right. And then what you're going to do is refer back to the file that I gave you. Let me show you about this. Okay. So back here. So you've already done this, is created, and this is the instruction, right? So just to be kind of tracking where we're talking about, because I know I'm moving through quite a few screens here and I want to slow down and make sure I'm clear. So now that we've set up your beginning private 100-day folder, day one, Now in here, you've created your first file, which is going to be called day one, and you created the readme file. So you've done this step and you've committed it. Okay. So now what you're going to do is go watch, right? So in the course, right, you're going to go watch video one, and you can do, and after each video, and these are pretty short, so you don't have to write a lot here. Okay. But let me show you what I want. After video one, in your README file, write your impression of what you will learn in this course. So then you flip over, we'll come here, right? Day one, and then you can do video one. And this is where, you don't have to write a lot. I am excited to get started. Write a little more, right? But here's what you're going to do each time, right? So, and in the first couple, you can actually see here what you're going to do is on video two, take a few notes on this content. What do you think of the pledge? So in your README file, that's what I'll see. So in video three, write down the tips. Okay, so for the first three videos, you're just taking notes. And then in the next one, there's actually a quiz. So take the quiz. This quiz is not graded, but I want you to take a quiz, and then in your in your README file, then post your score. Now it's real tempting to want to take the quiz more than once to get a better score, but just post what you got the first time through. What I'm really looking for is this is like a pre-assessment, right? I think I missed one when I did this, and I have been doing Python for a couple of years now. So don't feel bad. Okay. Now, here's what I want to kind of slow down and say, and I haven't said until now. So let me get back here. Let me get back to the file that we're working on. What I really want you to do here is day one, video one, after each one. Now, I know this can get tedious, okay? But all you have to do that, actually commit optional. Oh yeah, I forgot this is optional. This is actually your commit message. So you can just leave this just day one, video one, and commit that in there, okay? So you'll work through this entire let me come back here because I'm going to show you what it looks like once you're done, and I want to show you how to submit it, okay? Let me come back here because I've actually worked through this to see it as well. So in completing day one, you will end up following along, going to REPL. This is what you will do, I believe, right here when you actually create your REPL IT account and you fork the assignment. If you're working locally, then all you have to do is see if there's any code in that file. You can copy and paste it again. Ask me on Discord if you have any questions about that. So this gives you the instruction of what you need to do. And then you end up creating this is actually a coding, this is what we call an interactive coding exercise, right? So let me show you now that you've kind of seen, because you're going to end up, let's just be clear, you're going to work through all 15 videos, okay? And you're going to be sometimes doing notes, sometimes creating files. So in that README file that I've provided you, that shows is your guide for what you need to do for each one, okay? Now, just because I think it might be helpful, I did this on my private account, on my Rio private, is I did this 100 days. I did this day one. I created my README file, and these are all the files you end up creating. So you end up creating the README file, exercise. You have 4 interactive files. You have this V6, this video 6 file gets used on several other videos, but I tell you in my README file, and then you create a new file for video 11, and then the final is the final project for that day. Okay, so this is what it will look like when you're complete with day one up in your day one. And so what you're going to do, so hopefully that, again, ask any questions that I haven't covered here or that you may have run into. So now let's talk about how do you submit this, okay? So what you're going to submit is you're going to submit And it would be logical for you to submit this URL, which shows all this work. And I want you to get used to this. What I really want to see is your commits. Okay, because I should see a commit after each video, right? And where I get really particular about this is on the coding challenges, because I want to see your these are exercises. In my last JavaScript we called them coding challenges, but these are interactive exercises, because I want you to include not only your code attempt and Dr. Angela's code example. Okay, because I want you to really take a time. Like, here's an example, right? So this was her code here. I should have, and I normally do. So this is a good example of what also needed to put here would have been and you learn about comments. Okay, how to write comments. You just put a pound and a space. That's a comment inside of a Python file. And you do create Python files here. So we move from creating README markdown files to actually creating Python files here. But what you're doing in this first day 1 and day 2 is you're just copying stuff from the REPL.it. And from there, once you get the code working, so that you build this structure. And you quickly start to see why the benefit of a local environment, right? All right, so let's just complete this. In order to do this, you have to submit the URL. So let me go back here. The URL I want you to submit is, you can come in, you can actually do it from here. You can see, if I just hit commits, it shows all the commits that I've done. And then you can just hit copy here. And then for the URL, you paste that in there. Okay. Now I'm not looking at the student view, so let me do that real quick, because I think I might be day 1. Oh, good. So start the exercise. Okay. Paste that URL. And you can tell what the URL of what it is by the fact that it has commits in there. And remember, you need to be making, if you miss 1 or 2, not a big deal, especially on this day 1 and 2. As we move further in the course, I tend to get more adamant about making sure you're doing commits when I say to have them done, and I will have that in your file. But for now, this works fine, and then go ahead and submit it. Okay, so I hope that helps you understand how to complete day 1 in the Udemy course. And actually, you can see that the first day of the semester was here. This was actually the second day of the semester. And now I'm going to do a short video just going over day 2, but it's very much like day 1. Okay, I hope this helped you.